So it is our Fatal 4-Way predictions, and of course the WWE Championship will be contested. Cena is going to take on Sheamus versus Randy Orton versus Edge. Now these are Fatal 4-Way rules matches, of course, and two main events announced so far: the Raw Championship brand and the SmackDown Championship brand. Thus far there hasn't anything else been announced, but Cena, Sheamus, Orton, Edge.
I think I was going with Cena on this one still, just to piss people off, and go on the big 2-year streak. I'm gunning for it. I'm part of. I actually looked up and there is C Nation on Facebook. I'm going to join that during the week, and I'm on the other side. I've crossed the bridge. I'm going for the 2-year run with the belt. I think C Nation can do it.
John Cena certainly building a lot of momentum, and maybe people now are kind of looking at him and saying, well, we had our Hulk Hogan, we had our super men of the past, the guys that mowed through the others. That's what a babyface is all about, and I think even as a hardcore, I feel like I echo those thoughts. I think Cena can sell merchandise, he can keep the company afloat. Yeah, we're going to probably be cringingly embarrassed at some of the things he's going to say backstage and on the mic, but you can put up with him. If he's going to be a guy who will hold on to the belt, any kind of long run is going to legitimize and re-energize a belt, and I think he's about the only one that they're going to be confident enough to do that with. So Sheamus, he's had the belt, he's sort of not gone too far from the main event position. I would have thought maybe at this stage he'd be maybe even on SmackDown, but it's obvious they've got confidence in him, and let's not speculate as to why, but I mean there's all sorts of backstage gossip about who he's friends with. But Sheamus is there, so is Orton, and I think Orton and Edge, they're kind of doing a mid-card feud. They're only really in there to fill up the numbers, I think.
Yeah, they need the big players, I suppose, to sell it, especially now that there's still, as you said, only 2 matches. But in an ideal world, I think I would like Sheamus to take the title, but I really what's going to happen is he's just going to drop it again in 2 months, isn't he? Come SummerSlam, it'll be back on whoever else, be it Orton or Edge or Cena, one of the 3 really, and it just wouldn't make sense, I think, to put it back on Sheamus. He can just continue ploughing through people and being legit and being strong, and like you say, because he's not gone to SmackDown, he's there, he's still in our faces, he's still over, and he's still believable, I suppose, as the Celtic Warrior and whatnot. The reference to the Hills of Tara was quite funny, I have to say, on Raw, being Irish and all that. Where the fuck are the Hills of Tara anyway?
Good question. Geography in this country, even how small it is, I haven't got a clue.
Probably out by the McGillicuddy Reeks or somewhere like that.
Absolutely. McGillicuddy, a name that we're going to be hearing too much of in the next few weeks. What a shame. But anyway, Fatal 4-Way. Sheamus, he only ended up with one name, and somebody said to me that that's kind of a thing where the guy with the one name, he often ends up being overlooked. I mean, look at the guys who have the 2 names that have gone so far. An exception would be Batista. He managed to do well, but of course, maybe we all thought maybe he was Dave Batista and he had 2 names in some way. But anyway, they're not going to turn him into Sheamus, so shocking to see, that's for sure, because that would allow him to make money if he ever gets released.
Yeah, that's very, very true. But I think Cena, I would be surprised if actually the belt changed, but like I say, it would be good if Sheamus took it for some reasons, but I think logically and going forward, leaving the belt on Cena is the best idea.
Yeah, you got to do it. You've got to, at some point, nail your colours to the cross and say, this is the guy. And yeah, it might kind of annoy us, but look at the business they did with Bob Backlund. I know it was a different era, but you can do that in a small way. You don't want to annoy people and leave it on him for 7, 8 years, whatever he had it for. But I don't think that's going to happen in this day and age. But at the same time, it's the build, isn't it? I mean, you've got to feel like it means something for a guy to lose. And I think a couple of years ago, as bad as maybe it was compared to maybe other people's favorite eras. Like some people would be an Attitude Era guy, another would be maybe an early '90s guy. But I don't think it was necessarily a bad time. I mean, Cena had the belt, and every match, whoever it was with, it didn't matter if it was Snitsky, anybody who he was in there with, you were always just going, will this be the guy that will be pushed and go over?
Yeah, and for the most part, really, nobody really was the guy. I think, like you referenced, Snitsky certainly wasn't the guy. But Sheamus was the guy and still is. They haven't knocked him back down. They've kept him up there even without a belt, and he can, some of those guys that we've said it a million times, they don't need belts to solidify their place wherever they are on SmackDown or Raw, and Sheamus is definitely one. But yeah, it makes sense. Keep the belt on Cena.
Now, the World Heavyweight Championship is being contested in another Fatal 4-Way match, and it will be Swagger versus Mysterio versus CM Punk versus Big Show. Now, here's another one where we have that mid-card feud, the Punk Mysterio, basically just getting a place in there. I mean, in terms of match quality, yeah, I mean, I've admitted to everybody that I thought those last few pay-per-view matches were good. Not great, but good, and, I think when we see something good, we got to talk about it, really. But yeah, I mean, you're going to put them in there, and hopefully they will do some of what they've been doing that's been impressive. But as for the other two, I mean, who else? Cena and Big Show? I mean, Swagger and Big Show. That's how lost I am about it, yeah.
I'm not. I just really don't care about this one, to be honest. There's nothing that even slightly excites me. I think the Mysterio Punk match at Over the Limit was good and surprised us all. But Big Show, I think he's past. He doesn't really need a belt run at this stage. And Swagger is probably your safest bet. I mean, he's quite funny at times. And he's kind of developed nicely, I think. At first I was a bit skeptical across the board, but he's getting away with it just about, I think.
He is starting to impress me when he gets into the ring and he cuts his promos. He's doing it with a lot more confidence, and I've gotten used to the fact that he's got the belt. Has he had a good position? I think so. I think he's been on TV enough where he's in that kind of still junior level, but he's the champion. It's almost like a new genre of guys now. I mean, it kind of started, I think, to me with CM Punk, a guy who maybe you thought, this guy's a bit young to be getting the belt at this point, but they don't seem to think like that anymore, and I suppose it's a case that they have to think about younger guys first now, and Swagger has done very well. So if you put Swagger in there with a Mysterio and a Punk and a Big Show, I mean, everything there points to Swagger going over.
Yeah, I think it does. I think unless they really just stop this Punk Mysterio feud, because maybe it's time. They've got some juice, quite a lot of juice out of it actually at this stage, and maybe Punk with his mask going over might be a surprising one. They do like to throw curveballs in there at times. So I think that would be the only other way I can see it finishing, is if Punk somehow comes out on top with the belt. But then again, what happens to Swagger from there? But then again, what happens with Swagger if he keeps the belt? I mean, where does it go?
And let's not forget also, he hasn't been signed into a match yet. Kane is on the rampage. Maybe Kane is going to come out and do something in there. Of course, Undertaker was supposed to be in that match. Now, Kane's been very vocal about what he thinks has been happening, and he's been accusing everyone backstage, and I think one or two of those guys have encountered Kane as well. But I mean, they do have spots to fill, so perhaps Kane is going to get a match out of this. But definitely I think it's a possibility that we might see Kane getting involved in that heavyweight championship match at Fatal 4-Way. Will we have more matches announced? We're just going to have to wait and see. Maybe they might throw us a bone and do it by Friday.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus, they need to I'm sure get R-Truth on there to put us to sleep for some part of the show, and then Drew, and you've got the tag belts, Hart Dynasty, Usos, possibly. Maybe a bit early to be putting them on the big show, not the big show, but the pay-per-view, of course.